Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for our Village of Alsip board meeting. Today is October 5th, 2020, and we're going to call this meeting order at 7:30 p.m. Can you call the roll, please?
Sure. Trustee Dalzell?
Here.
Trustee Zielinski?
Here.
Trustee Juarez?
Here.
Trustee McLaughlin?
Here.
Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Nava-Esparza?
Here.
Mayor Ryan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor, before we begin, please, may I please remind the audience to silence their phones? And then I do have a point of order that I need to ask the attorney about, Mr. Kankar. Last week there was an ordinance that was tabled until discussion for this evening. That ordinance is not on the agenda tonight, so what happens with that ordinance?
Which ordinance is it?
It was for elected officials.
I think you could take that off the table if you want to, but I think that there's a new ordinance, so you can go ahead and consider the new ordinance tonight.
Okay, the new ordinance can be just added without previous discussion?
Yeah, there's no requirement that the committee discuss it.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, Madam Clerk,
Yes,
who put that on the agenda?
the direction was given by the mayor.
All right, I just got to say something if I could. First of all, we need to make a motion for that new one to be on, don't we?
It's letter F.
Do we make it during ordinance and legislation, or should I make it now?
No, we'll wait till, let's follow the regular order of business.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, I had a discussion with a trustee over after last meeting. I mean, we used to have a professional courtesy to at least let the chair of a committee know that there was something going on within the committee, something was going to be put on the agenda.
Okay.
This is 2 weeks in a row that I was not aware of anything that was put on the agenda until it was actually on Friday's agenda.
Okay.
We're not having a consensus any longer amongst the trustees. We're not having any discussion. Nothing's being referred to committee. I mean, we're still in a democracy, aren't we? I mean, we still do things the proper way, or?
In all fairness, trustee, it's the same ordinance that you saw last week.
It's not the same ordinance, it's changed.
The wording was changed a little bit, but yeah, it's the same ordinance.
Not just the wording, the amounts, everything.
Mm-hmm. But we can certainly discuss it before we vote on it.
You can move, what you could do is you can move to take it from the table, the motion second, move it from the table, then you vote on it as it's in front of you.
Sure.
Okay, I didn't know what the correct procedure was since we did have a table and it wasn't on here.
Yeah, and listen, it's not going to be on the consent agenda anyway, so just,
Well, it is. It's letter F.
It is on the consent agenda.
I don't
Okay.
think everybody's going to agree that you have to have it on the consent
Okay.
agenda. So once we'll take it off the table, we'll move
Then we
it from
can
the table
discuss
at
it.
that point.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
That's what I'm saying.
Thank you, Mr.
And one-
Kankar, I appreciate it.
One more question for Mr. Kankar. How much is it costing us to have these ordinances made? We had one made last week, we had one made this week. I mean, you're not doing this pro bono, are you?
No, but I didn't make the one last week, trustee.
How much are we spending on these ordinances that we're just putting on and taking off and not using?
Well, there was basically I'd have to find out. Let's put it that way. I don't have the bill in front of me, so I'll let you know.
You weren't billed for the ordinance that was in front of you. Nobody at our firm drafted it.
Right.
The first time I saw it.
Who drafted it then? Anybody? I mean, somebody had to draft it.
It was a form that had been previously used, is my guess.
Right.
It wasn't us.
Yeah, that was actually just taken from,
Billed for it.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a replicate from 2013 or something like that.
So
right.
you drafted it, Mr. Mayor?
No, we took the template from the 2013 ordinance, yes.
Okay.
So let's get on with our business then. And as you said, trustee, when we get to that item, we can discuss that when we get to it then, too. First, the order of business tonight. And first off, officers' report starting with myself. I'd like to first off thank this past weekend, past Saturday, I want to thank my assistant Becky Smith, the Alsip Library, and the Alsip Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring a really well-done cleanup day and shred day at the same time. We don't have all the totals in yet, weight-wise and stuff like that, but we did a really good turnout for paper waste as well as e-waste. There's still a ton of TVs down out there, slowly getting rid of those and stuff on too, you know. They need a second truck for all that, huh? Okay. Saw a couple guys with those real big boys that took like 3 people to get them off the truck. Yeah, I told them, I knew somebody bought that thing, you know, so, yeah, there was a couple of big ones in there. So I'm glad we could help the residents with that and so forth. And special thanks to the CERT team. Salem Baptist Church was out there. Community Service Officer Flores was a major help as well. The trustees, we had Trustee Juarez came out, Trustee Zielinski, and Nava Sparza.
And McLaughlin.
And McLaughlin, thank you very much. And also there was a woman, her name was Anastasia, and she brought out her 2 little girls with her, and they were great. And I couldn't put them near a busy street, so I actually had them do Platner Street over near the boat launch and so forth. But her kids couldn't have been up to my waist and stuff. And I'm like, you know, the rest of us are going to be out.
Ones?
Yeah, I was out with a couple of we were doing the Cicero Bridge, and we had another group, Mike and Monica, they were over on the Pulaski Bridge, and it was almost, I tell you what, our town is really not in that bad a shape. We were pretty clean. I drove around the whole village on Friday and made maps for everybody, and it was really IDOT property as usual that we were cleaning up. So I want to thank everybody that came out and did that. That was a great job. Also last week, myself and our HR manager, we interviewed our first finance director, very nice person. And we're actually screening 2 more applications right now, so we're going to get those folks in here too as soon as possible. Mike Frater, he's absent this evening. I was talking to him earlier today. We were approved for over a $300,000 grant we're going to get. Actually, I got a quick overview. We're going to have a presentation here next week in our committee meeting, but I do have a letter from MWRD, and this is regarding the east parking lot at the boat launch, and that's going to be a new. What they gave me here was the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District has reviewed the Village of Alsip's request to install green infrastructure on the subject real estate, being like the east side of the boat launch. The project site is within the floodplain and is within a floodplain and may be within a wetland buffer or riparian environment, which is considered a flood protection area. Basically, what they're going to do is we're going to remove the parking lot over there. It's going to be trees, greenland. We're going to develop a bioswales and other stormwater storage facility back there. It's basically underground facilities. But this is, however, removing a parking lot and planting native vegetation without underdrains or an aggregate is certainly necessary too. So, Danny, I know you're familiar with most of the terms on a lot of that kind of thing, but I had met out there with this organization. Actually, this is all going through the Morton Arboretum, and we want to really thank Ellen Avery is who we met out there. We really appreciate her help. And Emily, her last name's kind of hard to pronounce, it's Ocalo from Morton Arboretum. And again, the village has been awarded over a $300,000 grant to improve that area, and it's going to be like an instructional area and so forth then too. I'm not sure of a date yet when they're going to start all this, but again, we're going to have Emily in here next week at our, we're meeting next week, right?
Correct.
Yeah, for a committee meeting, so she'll talk to us about it. Next, please keep in mind, if you have any yourself or any of your neighbors may be in need, Worth Township will be hosting another free emergency food distribution on Thursday, October 15th, beginning at 2 p.m. until food runs out. The event is located in the parking lot at 11601 South Pulaski. They've been hosting this event every month since July, and it's become a very successful event. Each month they have approximately 350 families drive through, and each will receive a box of dairy and produce products. I've been out there a couple of times to help them out distributing that, and it's a great event. We hope you'll be able to join us this month, and we'll have some food and refreshments for any of the volunteers after them too. If anyone has any questions on that, Maureen Ryan is the coordinator over there at the Worth Township. She's at 371-2900. And again, that's from Eamon McMahon, the Worth Township supervisor. Last, we had Pace Bus. They sent me a letter to make us aware that we are not formally proposing to make these to make any service reductions, but they are going to be discussing that at a Pace Bus board meeting on October 21st. And Pace has faced historic challenges this year due to COVID-19 pandemic. At the height of the pandemic, Pace ridership was down 25% of the regular ridership. They went from providing over 100,000 trips every weekday to just 25,000. Although there has been some ridership, although they've seen some ridership recovering over the last few months, ridership is still down approximately 50%, and they rely upon the fare box revenue and the sales tax to cover the operating expenses, and both funding streams have been devastated by the COVID-19. So again, if there's any other updates that come in, I'll certainly let the community know about that. First on your agenda, we had the approval to amend the number of Class C liquor licenses from 3 to 4 and designate the newly built 7-Eleven store that just went up at 4000 West 127th Street in Alsip. Second was the approval to create an FG liquor license for the Shell gas station at 12249 South Cicero, Alsip, as a new add-on construction is contingent upon approval. Again, I did build a template that I don't want to see, and the board agreed, we don't want to see the retail aspect of a gas station be diminished just to introduce gaming. So he doesn't have enough square footage there. If he wants to have gaming in his gas station, he's going to add on, which you talked to him, Roger, and
we still are in communication. He's shoring some stuff up. I feel comfortable with it, that they will move forward with.
so he's going to do some remodeling, only if we say we'll create a license for him.
Correct.
He does not offer any liquor sales at that location right now.
Correct.
Right, okay. And that's all I had for the evening. Clerk's report?
No report this evening, Mayor Ryan.
Then we have the attorney report. You have Joe Kankar with us? All right. Engineer was excused this evening. Dan, did he have anything going on with you guys right now?
We're just, working to finalize the connections on Springfield Avenue. They're working this week, should be done by the end of the week.
Did we get that paving thing resolved too, where we challenged the paving, that
Correct.
patched? Okay,
I did some repairs last week on the paving, and both Mike and I inspected it last week.
great, thank you. Public forum, did anyone in the audience wish to address the board this evening? Yeah, come on up, sir.
Good evening. My name is Rich Ryan, Alsip resident for a number of years. I was at the meeting last week, and I spoke at that meeting regarding some talk about raising the salary for the position of mayor. The position of mayor is the chief operating officer of this town, overseeing 160 employees, a $20 million budget, and I just got updated numbers that I pulled on the pension. We have a $120 million pension liability. Just to give you some comparisons, Evergreen Park, $18 million pension liability. Crestwood, a $1 million pension liability. The average of the surrounding suburbs is $37 million. Alsip's $120 million. Trustee Juarez, what percentage of our current budget goes to health and retiree benefits? Do you have any idea what that is today?
No.
John, you know what that is?
100%.
No, I'm talking what percentage of the total budget?
Oh, I'm sorry, the total budget. Geez, I don't have it right in front of me, Rich, but I know it's 100% of the property tax that goes at that right now, which is...
I can tell you what it is. It's about 35%.
Yeah.
Am I
I was going to say a
Christine,
third.
you're the finance person. Would you say it's about right?
Sounds about
okay.
right.
So currently, about 35% of all the revenue that goes in this town pays for pension liability. Trustee Zelinski, a pension. People on the pension today, retirees of Alsip, is it a fixed annuity they get, or does it go up, or what does it do?
I believe the pension gets a 3% raise annually.
That is correct. A 3% raise annually. Anybody in this room on a pension? Sure. Does your pension go up 3% a year? It's a fixed annuity, like every pension, okay?
I'm sorry, Rich, you got to address the board here, though, too.
Okay. So it goes up 3% a year. My point is, the focus seems to be on John Ryan. All the Facebook stuff, everything's about John Ryan. This is not about John Ryan. John Ryan's term ends, what, sometime next year?
April.
April, okay? The focus should be on what to properly pay the position, not on a particular person. If you offer $75,000 a year for a police chief, you get Barney, not Andy. You are Andy, right? Okay. The voters will determine who the next mayor is. It's the job of the board to make sure compensation for all key positions is competitive with communities of the same size and in the area. The benchmarking has been done, and the surrounding communities are paying in the area of $100,000 a year for a full-time mayor. Alsip is fundamentally bankrupt. If Alsip was a business, you'd take it under. You're a $120 million pension debt. 35% of your budget is going towards that today. Got news for you. It's going to be a lot higher tomorrow. Does anybody know what the actuarial calculation is to come up with that? In other words, what rate of return do you get on your assets? Trustee Warren, do you know what that is?
Excuse me, sir. I just wanted to say that the way you addressed me last week, I would prefer you not speak to me.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
Does anybody else know that?
7%.
7%. You are correct. Okay? So, the actuaries, when they calculate that number of $120 million, they're assuming that the money you have invested is going to make 7% a year. Now, let me give you a couple other examples. The state of Illinois, okay, had a tax rate in 2010 of 3%. It was raised to 5%, 40% increase. The state of Illinois has a budget deficit in pension, unfunded, of $137 million.
Excuse me, Rich, I should have said when you walked up, usually wasn't prepared. I should have said usually we give everybody 3 minutes, so if you would please each
Okay.
wrap up what you're saying.
In the short, folks, Illinois has raised taxes 40%, and they're still behind the pension, behind the 8 ball. Okay? They're never going to get there. This town has serious issues. It's going to take somebody with a skill set to manage those issues. You are not going to get that individual or a collection of good individuals for $75,000 a year. The focus should not be on that man. The focus should be on the position. Every resident of Alsip currently is $6,700 in the hole on a pension, and it's only going to get worse. So whoever gets in this job has to make sure that every building is occupied and every business is successful to try to bring in the tax revenue so the full burden doesn't fall on the taxpayer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, hey, Rich, can I ask you, you just signed it so we know you spoke to us. Thank you very much. Anyone else wish to address the board? Sure, come on up. Sure.
Hello, Mayor. How are you today? My name is Michael Joniak, and I'm from Alsip, and I'm a GD program. And I bring up, it's a dark casting, aluminum die casting company. And the company's kicking up some like fumes in the atmosphere, and it smells like candle wax. Now, I think I notice how some people act on it, how I feel. It kind of drains my energy and makes me really tired, and I'll be like down and out. and I'd like to see, can you guys look into getting like Sierra Club or Environmental Greenpeace to do some like testing on the air quality, give us some feedback of what the carcinogens are, the parts per billion, and health effects, how it's affecting us. And so on the Wednesday I was here before, like the Wednesday before Monday, it was kicking really bad. They were making a lot of noise, bam, 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 and it sounded like they were building a car in there or like a statue, and the production was like really up. So see here, the second was it's a Walgreens store and other stores. I call it emission testing, like Monday testing. People got their cars, they're idling their cars, and cars that idle more than 15 seconds are wasting gas. Now the fumes that are coming out then leak into the building, and it's car after car. And like when I go in the store, I'm fine, but when I stay there a long time, these cars are idling. I get like really lightheaded, and even like I get down, get up, stand down, it's like it's affecting everybody in there and me. So my issue is to come up with signs to say that if you're going to idle your car, you idle your car 100 feet away, and that's something I'll pay for, like these signs. I'll pay for those signs, and start at Walgreens and other stores that have that. And so it's really a big issue. I'm really I got like a passion on this, and my heart is set on this, and I'll do community service to pay for these signs. And if you need me to help call Sierra Club Greenpeace, I'll come and help you do that. This is our town. We have to look into this. Can't overlook this. And I get on my bike a lot, and I ride past there, and I notice this stuff. And they even say that pollution, when it blows in the air, the direction that it's going, crime is like really high. This stuff gets people agitated, and it gets into their bloodstream, and it's really not really good. So those issues I'm bringing up. Alsip will be a really great community. We get this situation undertaken and resolved, and we'll see change. People feel better. People will be able to spend more money because they're saving gas and take more quality. Now, I want to say this. You might feel like maybe you're smoking marijuana for this idea here now. Conserving energy at the street lights. You got red light, you got a green light. You have a time duration at the red light to the green light to let people know, shut the cars off, and then turn the cars back on, so they're not idling. And that cuts down on emissions, saving gas. Well, that's more like...
That's what all the new cars do now, too, Mike, so I think they're on that part of it. But I understand the older ones may not. And again, we did the 5-minute thing here, too. Michael, real quick, though, you got a mask on. What was the name of the sign that you're referring to? I was making a note on that. I didn't get it.
The sign is to not idle your car more than 15 seconds, and then idle. If you want to idle your car...
Limit idling, right, okay.
If you want to idle your car, you got to go 100 feet away.
Okay. Michael, thank you very much for your input.
Thank you, Board. Thank you, Mayor.
You too. Mike, sign that sheet for me, will you, please? Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board? Come up, sir.
Good evening. My name is Bill Love. I'm an Alsip resident, and like the previous speaker, I'm also in agreement that when it comes to the position of mayor, it shouldn't be about John Ryan. It should be about the position of the mayor. What kind of sealed that in my thought process was a speaker of last week, Mr. Pierce, who is kind of an opposition to John Ryan, saying that he is underpaid. So if you have the opposition saying that the position is underpaid, it kind of seals it that, yes, people know that the position is underpaid. Just because it was on a campaign handout that he ran on is kind of petty politics, if you ask me. So Mr. Ryan has fulfilled his campaign promise, so to speak. He's gone 4 years at his present salary. Whether he gets reelected or not, that's up to the voters. But it's up to the board to decide what the pay of that position is. There's also things made about is it the proper time because of the pandemic? The pandemic, hopefully, will be taken care of, and the economy will have recovered within the next year. The position of mayor, as far as the compensation, can only be decided in 4 years. So if you don't do it now, you're looking at another 4 years that position goes underpaid.
Would you make sure to sign in, please, sir?
Thanks, Commissioner Love. I appreciate it. Anyone else wish to speak? Thank you.
My name's Therese Baker. I'm a Alsip resident. I agree with this gentleman. It's not about you, Mr. Ryan. It's about the position. It's also about the state of the economy in the village of Alsip. $127 million in debt from pension obligations. Revenue's got to be down somewhere between 30 and 40% from COVID. People in the village are struggling, and yet you're asking for a raise. If the village revenues are down that much, where is the money going to come from? Capital projects have been put on hold. It doesn't add up. 1 and 1 doesn't equal 3.
You know what? I kind of agree with you. And the thing is, I'm not asking for a raise. I'm not asking for a raise at all.
Somebody here is asking for the
No,
mayor's
what we're doing is we're actually evaluating what Trustee Dalzell brought up last week and he had brought this up prior, which you folks weren't a part of, but he brought it up to the board in closed session when we discussed compensation for non-union employees just recently that we approved a couple of weeks ago. To say that he wanted to evaluate the mayor's salary as well. So it wasn't just a surprise last week. But what you do is you have to, the deadline is like 180 days prior to the next election, if you wish to. In other words, what I was talking about last week is I wanted to give.
We're trying to slide it in before the election and nobody sees it.
No. You have a deadline. We could have this conversation 2 years ago. But what I wanted to give the board and give the community was some measurable, say, measurable like expectations. If I was in office for 1 year and I said, hey, listen, next term, we need to raise that pay, and they're like, based on what? Well, okay, and I gave the board all those examples in the community on camera last week of things that have been accomplished and the dedication and everything else that goes into it. And just that, in real...
Right, those things have been accomplished. However,
right.
Revenues are still down.
Sure.
$127 million pension obligation. How can you justify a raise? I've already been told I'm not getting a raise this year because our revenues are down 40%.
This is totally up to the board, and what it was is I'm not asking for a raise. I have to be retained first, if that's the case. It might be somebody else, who knows. To give you an example of how this works and what's been done just previously, in 2004, there was an ordinance approved by then Mayor Arnie Andrews, by that board back then. They had fixed numbers in that ordinance that said the salary went from, here it is right here. Salary went from, let's just say in 2005 it went to $82,000. In 06 it went to 85. In 07 it was almost 89. And in 08 it was 92.5. And then the board in 08 for an 09 ordinance looked at it again, and whoever was on the board back then, they approved 92.5 for 2 years, and then it went up as high as 98.13, okay? And then in 2013, I was part of a board majority that agreed, hey, let's reset that. We felt you had to reset the wages. And more importantly, I think what everybody needs to focus on, it wasn't just salary where we were looking at back in 13, it was the idea that the trustees and the clerk yet too were getting full coverage insurance, and we eliminated those health care programs that you, the taxpayer, I'm a taxpayer like you are, they were paying for those benefits at that time. So we eliminated, that was a PPO program for their family insurance, saved over maybe $18,000 to $20,000 each per year. So that's what brought that down. So this is, so in 13, that needle has stayed there at the $75,000 mark, and I certainly agreed to work for that. And so, and I think I've done a great job doing it. Again, this isn't about me, as a couple of folks pointed out here. This is just an idea that you take it, you evaluate that salary and say, are we bringing in the right kind? Are my expectations in that salary measurable? Are we paying the right kind of money to that person? And based on, like, what I shared and Mr. Ryan picked up on, was many mayors, I'm what you call a village president. I'm a full-time mayor. Every executive decision that gets made in this village goes across my desk. Are we paying the right kind of revenue for that particular service? You're not just shopping low. You want to make sure you're paying accordingly. And that's all this is, Ms. Zicker.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but
Yeah.
I just feel like in this economic environment, this is not the time to be asking for raises.
Actually,
People in the village are out of jobs, village revenues are down, capital projects have been postponed,
no, and like I said, we're just,
and
and
then
actually,
it's adding more to the pension debt, because now when you retire, or whoever retires in 4 years at $175,000, that's that much more to the pension obligation.
the adjustment that I was recommending, based on the body language last week and the fact that it was tabled, I was willing to have the board consider what I consider. If the board disagrees, it's on them. I don't want to vote on this. I mean, I only vote in the event of a tie. So what I'm recommending in tonight's ordinance is nothing but an adjustment to $5,000. And all that is, and from where I'm at, from where that's salary, I should say. Forget about me, I keep saying. The salary's at 75 right now. If it went to $80,000, that's a $5,000 difference, and it's actually only a 6.7% increase. Let's say over the last 4 years, it's lower than the consumer price index. Okay, it's actually lower than what that is, and what that equates to. And let's just say even based on 40 hours, and I easily put in 60 a week, that actually equates to $2.40 an hour in the first year. That's all this is right now. $2.40 an hour.
I still hope that they vote against it. Again,
Okay,
in this
I mean,
economic climate,
yeah.
this is not the time to be asking for raises.
Understood, and it's true. Thank you very much, Ms. Aker. Ms. Aker, can you do us a favor? You sign it, just so we know you spoke to us tonight. Thank you.
If I may, Mayor, just speak to the...
No, trustee, I'd rather, this is a public forum. It's not really a debate. Let's follow our agenda. We'll certainly ask questions when we get to that. Anybody else in the audience wish to address the board? Nobody? Mike, I'm sorry, I already gave you 5 minutes, but no problem. Thank you. Michael, you know what? When we get done, let me give you my business card, and if you get access to a text or a email, please send me a note, and I'd be happy to follow up with you, okay? Okay. All right, let's move on with our reports then. Standing Committee Report, Finance and IT, Trustee McLaughlin.
First, I have a request for approval of a list of payroll dated September 25th, 2020, totaling $373,953.60. Next, I have a request for approval of accounts payable dated October 5th, 2020. From the recap general fund, $384,279.02. Road and Bridge, $13,115.87. MFT, $4,834 even. Water and Sewer, $602,507.52. Heritage, $59,853.97, for a grand total all funds of $1,064,590.38. And that's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Next, fire, I'm sorry, I want to add two real quick. Friday, I had a discussion with Deputy Fire Chief Ricker and our IT manager, Brian Massari. He's going to be reaching out to the IT committee. We had a conversation about upgrading our phones that we talked about. We did appropriate monies for that. And they want to look at something that is actually going to make our phone lines like stream through the computer, like in a way where it actually saves a little money. There is a cost involved of buying equipment to even test our lines to see if it'll handle all this kind of thing. It was very technical. I asked them to make a presentation, so next week at committee, they'll be in here to make a presentation to your committee and stuff then too. Come on, you guys, I'm sure you guys know what they were talking. There were so many adjectives I couldn't keep up. There was letters galore and stuff.
Bob, you're next week planning on a long meeting.
Yeah.
Whenever he's here, it's always a long meeting.
Thank you, Chief.
It's not my fault for that one.
Yeah. Fire Committee Report, Trustee Murphy.
I have approval for allowing the fire department to have a search dog through Illinois USNR 1, and I have a presentation of a letter from South Cook County EMS system. And that letter reads, "Dear Chief, I am writing to you at this time to commend your department on a outstanding EMS call. On June 24th, 2020, the Alsip Fire Department responded to a male patient complaining of chest pain. On arrival, the crew found this patient in cardiopulmonary arrest. The crew quickly and effectively treated this patient. This included CPR, multiple defibrillations, endotracheal. Thank you. That's a good one. Treated this patient, which defibrillations, endotracheal
intubation.
Intubulation and assisted ventilators, intraosseous access, and multiple ALS drug administrations. As a result of the ability of the Alsip Fire Department, the patient was successfully resuscitated. Please congratulate all involved for this excellent pre-hospital save. A gold seal is enclosed to honor this call. Thank you sincerely, Brendan Hieseler. And that's all I have, sir.
Nice work by your man, Chief. They saved that person's life with them. Did they use that machine that we bought?
Yeah. Actually, I was walking my dog. I was a block away from when that came in, so I actually went on the call. I had to call my daughter and tell her that I'm walking past her house, drop off my dog so I can go to the call. That's about the fourth save we've had with the auto pulses since we've put them in service.
They had the folks, they featured on Channel 9 just recently. That's a heck of a machine. That thing, you actually strap it to someone's body, and there's no, it actually rolls up and down the body to keep the compressions going on the victim.
It does perfect CPR. Even when we're moving the patient, it still does CPR. So.
How many of those did we buy, Chief? 2 of them?
3 of them, one for each ambulance.
Nice. All right, thank you very much. Police and Traffic Safety, Trustee Dalzell.
No report this evening, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Public Work and Boat Launch, Trustee Juarez.
No report.
Trustee, again, as a reminder, this is the last month at the boat launch. We close that for the season on November 1st. So, again, we appreciate everybody supporting us at the boat launch this season. Sewer and Water Report, Trustee Nava-Esparza.
No report this evening, Mayor.
Okay. Building and Health, Trustee Zelinski.
I have an approval of the Building Department's September 2020 monthly activity report. Also, an approval of the Health Department's September 2020 monthly activity report. That's all tonight, Mayor.
Okay. Human Resource and Insurance, Trustee Murphy.
No report, Mayor.
We're going to have we'll have something at the committee next week to bring everybody up to speed on the finance director interviews. Next, special committee reports, economic development, Trustee Nava-Esparza.
Just some information. A deadline is approaching actually tomorrow, October 6th, for the Cook County COVID-19 Recovery Small Business Assistance Program. And they have $10,000 recovery grants for small businesses, and there's criteria on their website. And I can also send a link that hopefully we can post on. I think we've posted it already on Facebook a couple times. So the deadline is tomorrow. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Also, Roger, I know we said at last week's meeting, I know I paid NICOR right away to disconnect all the services on Pulaski to those old properties by Taco Bell. Did ComEd disconnect themselves yet?
ComEd has been disconnected, but NICOR is not.
It's the other way around. Okay.
NICOR
All right.
disconnects, and then the demolition would commence.
All right. Unfortunately, for folks, they can't hear them on we're recording all of our meetings. Roger just said that we're waiting on NICOR. We paid ComEd. I apologize. I had that backward.
We did pay NICOR.
Oh, I did. That's what I thought. I thought I signed a check for her. Yeah. Okay. So we just need ComEd to disconnect, and we can start tearing down those properties. NICOR again. Sorry. All right. All right. All right.
Gas disconnect.
I'm telling you, I got Post-it notes all over my desk. So, all right. Thanks much, folks. And Village Properties, Trustee McGlohern.
I have no official report this evening. However, we've had a resident reach out regarding there's somebody who would like to donate a pool table for use at Heritage One. But before we agree to accept the donation, I wanted to run it by the board to see if anybody had any objections to it.
There's really no room to put it.
Well, that's what.
Already said no to it.
Okay. Well, that's what, Roger, if you would. I didn't know that you disagreed with it. And in fact, I spoke to the Trustee McGlohern this afternoon about it, and we were going to ask that you went over and check the square footage to see if it can accommodate. You don't think so?
I would say no at this time.
Okay. All right. I told the party over at Heritage One I'd get back to them tomorrow. And certainly, it's not something we have to vote on, but I want to make sure that we didn't overstep our bounds and bring something in that we couldn't accommodate. But you don't think there's, even in that room, this is Heritage One, so even if you threw it like near the kitchen, you don't think that's a good spot to have to put it?
When they do bingo, it,
Yeah, go ahead, grab on mic, Raj.
when they have bingo, typically they will fill up that little section or the larger section, and then the overflow goes into the kitchen area. If we were to put it in there, you know, it's going to take up obviously 8 feet, maybe 9 feet to get it so that you could play properly. I would recommend that we do not take it, but
Well, certainly the room at large is big enough to put a pool table in. Obviously, you lose a little bit of square footage to do it, and so even if we
Correct.
put it at the back of the main room there. Let's just put it this
the back room
way.
already has the TVs and the couches already that are in there.
Okay.
I would definitely not put it in that room, because then we're going to be shifting stuff around. I don't think it would fit in that back room.
No, I don't mean where the TVs, I'm talking about the room at large.
In
Yeah.
that kitchen area.
In the kitchen
No, I'm
area,
saying
right.
even if the big room for, we're talking to Heritage One, folks, just so you know, Village owns 2 55 and older complexes, and this is one of them, that's all. So they do have a clubhouse, that's what we're talking about, is locating this in a clubhouse with a donation. You know, it's not a big deal, we haven't really used, they haven't had meetings lately, but as a social activity with proper social distancing, I don't know if shooting a game of pool would.
Presently, we still do have the clubhouses closed
Oh, okay,
due to COVID.
gotcha. All right. I know we did it over at, well, I know we did for all the pools, everything's closed with that now then,
Well,
too.
no, the pool area is open.
Okay.
We're having them go through the outside, which obviously they're going to be closing the end of the week.
Gotcha. All right. All
Thanks.
right, so you're saying that you don't think it's big enough?
I would recommend not to take it.
Okay. All right. And-
Mayor, one thing about getting a pool table that was given to you for free. It ended up costing me $400 after I found out it was a 3-slate.
Oh, yeah, you got to rewrap that
It
thing
had
and
to-
all has come
right.
apart.
It
and all
had to
that.
be taken apart and put back together, refelted, rebumpered. So there's cost involved in that too, unless it is a 1 slate.
No,
So-
I believe Bob Waddell, management, over at Zeiler Management, he reiterated the same thing, yeah.
Just so you
Usually,
know.
no, you got to dismantle the whole darn thing, you can't pick that up.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Next, there would be ordinance legislation, trustee Zelinski.
Okay, to be honest with you, I really don't know what we're supposed to do. We had a motion and a second to another ordinance. It was tabled for this date. Am I to reiterate that one, the new one that's on the ordinance and legislation, item number 1? Or,
Well, let's put it this way, let's take item number 1, we can start with that, and
Can you please
basically, item number 1, and then this is basically, it's the same, this is basically the same, the conversation that we had last week was on item number 1. Item number 2 was a typo that we missed when we approved the non-union salaries recently, and that's why I highlighted to everybody in your packet. You saw that, it was, instead of $12, it was $13.
so what are we doing with the existing one?
With the
Item number
existing
1?
ordinance that
The
was
existing
tabled.
ordinance that
Yeah,
was tabled.
we'd make a motion and vote on that.
Hang on, I'm sorry, Mr.
I'll
Kinkar.
just make it nice and easy. All right, so before you go into the consent agenda, just make a motion to remove from the table the ordinance. Was it formally tabled?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so it's to remove that from the table. Once it's removed from the table, then you can consider this as amended. It's amended on its face, so.
Okay.
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 So is that what you want to
I
do?
think there's a lot of confusion about the timing of this ordinance as well. It's not actually 180 days before the election, it's 180 days before the next term. So that's the second meeting in May, so realistically, this can be done through, I think, mid-November. So it's not as time sensitive as everybody is putting out to be, just so everybody knows.
Well, then being chairman of that committee, are all the trustees okay with the new ordinance, or do we need to table that one for discussion?
It's already tabled.
Yeah.
The original one was
The new one.
From the table.
The first one,
correct.
but I'm talking about this one that I'm about to read.
So you'll need to do that, excuse me, I'm sorry if I'm,
No, you're correct.
you'll need to do that when we go to establish the consent agenda
Okay.
at that point. Is that correct?
That's, after you move it from the table, you can move to table it again if this you want.
Okay, number one, approval of an ordinance of the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois, fixing the compensation for the office of the village for the term of office commencing in May of 2021. Item number two, approval of an ordinance granting salary increases and establishing compensation for certain non-union employees and appointed officers of the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois. That's all I have tonight.
All right. Next, we had planning and zoning and licenses. Trustee Juarez.
I have an approval of a list of licenses dated September 14th through September 28th, 2020.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have any presentations, petitions, or communications?
Yes, Mayor, to your question earlier, we are meeting next week. However, it is on Tuesday, the 13th, in observance of Columbus Day, so there is no meeting on Monday.
All right.
I just had a communication. As I was volunteering at the October 3rd multi-event day, passing out census information, residents had questions about early voting. So, Becky, thank you for printing out the early voting locations near us. And so I was able to hand those out as well. And early voting, I believe, based off my memory, please correct me, I think Crestwood and also Oak Lawn is
Yes,
offering.
there's numerous ones, and we are putting it in the newsletter with the link of where they can search for early voting. At most early voting locations, there are also drop boxes for people to drop their mail-in ballot should they choose to do a mail-in ballot as well. But Crestwood and Oak Lawn are the closest, correct?
Okay. Is there signage out front that's stating that we're not offering? Because I think people might still come to the door thinking that we might have it. So just letting them know.
There's no campaign signs out front, which ought to be a big sign.
Correct.
They'll show up.
No, but if people do show up, there should be at least something on the door stating where they can actually go. That we're not
We can
having.
certainly
it.
Put something up, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I spoke to a resident today, and she's like, yeah, I was going to go. I'm like, no, we're not offering it this year.
Sure.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
Give me something for the Facebook page too, or in our website, our village website.
You could probably just copy what I submitted for the newsletter, because the links for all of it are in that.
All right. Did anyone want to remove anything, any items from the consent agenda?
Letter F.
Anybody else? Can I get a motion then to establish a consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I have a question, I'm sorry. This letter G, that's for that $12, $13 one?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like we actually had that right the first time around, and then when we did the correction on the other position, it went back to the original one.
Correct. And I saw it when I went to sign it off on last Tuesday, so I want to make sure it was done correctly. Roll call number one to establish the consent agenda. Trustee Delzell.
Yes.
Trustee Zelinski.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez.
Yes.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Navis Barza.
Yes.
Motion carries to establish.
Can I get a motion then, please, to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call number two to approve the consent agenda as presented. Letter C is in Charles's approval of a list of payroll dated September 25th, 2020, totaling $373,953.60. Letter D is in David is approval of a list of accounts payable dated October 5th, 2020, totaling $1,064,590.38. Letter F has been removed at this time. Letter G, approval of an ordinance granting salary increases and establishing compensation for certain non-union employees and appointed officers of the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois, will be known as ordinance number 2020-10-1. Again, roll call number 2 to approve the consent agenda as presented. Trustee Dalzell.
Yes.
Trustee Zelinski.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez.
Yes.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Navis Sparza.
Yes.
Motion carries to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you very much. We'll return to letter F, the approval of an ordinance of the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois, fixing the compensation for the office of village president for a term of office commencing in May of 2021. Trustee Zelinski, do you have a question on that?
I have a comment on it, and I'd like it for a separate vote.
You got to remove from the table.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Correct.
You're right.
So you need to make a motion to remove the tabled ordinance from last week.
I will make a motion to remove the tabled item from last meeting.
And that was an ordinance establishing compensation of rate of pay for the elected officials of the Village of Alsip. Do I have a second to
That was
Trustee
me.
Zelinski's? I'm sorry, Trustee McLaughlin?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Roll call number 3 to remove the previously tabled ordinance. Trustee Dalzell.
Yes.
Trustee Zelinski.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez.
Yes.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Navis Sparza.
Yes.
Motion carries to remove the tabled ordinance from last week.
So, Joe, did you have a question?
No, just a comment. When you were speaking to one of the people that came up to the microphone, you said it's simply a, when I said, does all the trustees understand what's in this new ordinance, just to make sure that we're not voting blindly here. You had mentioned to one of the residents that came up to the microphone that it was simply a $5,000 increase, but it's not just a $5,000 increase, it's a $5,000 increase with 2.5% incremental annual raises to follow.
Yes.
Indefinitely.
Yes.
Correct.
What does that come out over a 4-year term? What's the total? What's the cost over a 4-year term?
$32,201.25.
32,000.
201.25.
20.25.
201.25.
And just to be clear, and if everybody else is comfortable with the new ordinance, I'd like to bring it to a second vote, or a separate vote.
No, that you have to make a motion to approve the ordinance if you want to vote on it.
I thought we could table it again. No one.
I mean, does everybody, is everybody, I mean, because
That's the
this
idea
hasn't
of a
gone to
vote.
committee for any kind of conversation, and it hasn't gone through a consensus, so I don't know what the other trustees know.
I don't know what they know either, but all I'm saying is that was the conversation, it's the same conversation we had last week, but the amount was reduced from
fine.
10,000 to 5,000.
You know what? Then, according to the way Mr. Kankar's put it, we might as well table it, because we have plenty of time. That way, we can make sure that everybody is up to date on the status of what the ordinance actually reads.
And again, just for the record also, it was in your packet, so everybody saw this last Friday.
I understand. I know what's in it.
Right.
I just don't know if everybody else knows what's in it. I don't want to put it to a vote
Motion
if somebody's
to table.
unclear with it.
Motion to table, Trustee Dalzell.
Second.
Roll call.
Till a date?
Next week.
Until
Next week, we'll
Tuesday?
discuss.
Why don't we just, why don't we put, Trustee Zelinski, if you would, to make it easier, if you want to postpone consideration until the next meeting, that way you don't actually have to make a motion to take it off the table, it'll be on the agenda, ready to be voted on.
Thank you.
If you change your motion, I don't know if that's what you want to do.
That sounds like a good idea.
I would entertain that. Less confusion is the better.
So you got all that, Sue?
So, who is making the motion to postpone?
I would like to do that, please.
Thank you, Trustee Dalzell.
I will still second it.
Roll call number 4 to postpone discussion of letter F, approval of an ordinance of the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois, fixing the compensation of the office of village president for the term of office commencing in May of 2021. And we are postponing it to discussion on 10/12/2020. Is that correct, Trustee Delzell?
1013.
10/13. Thank you. You paid attention earlier.
Consideration, not just discussion, correct?
Yes.
Well, it's committee meeting
Postpone
next week,
for
so-
consideration.
For committee, I'm sorry.
Yep, we're sending it
Okay.
back to committee.
Okay. Thank you.
My fault.
Roll call number 4 to postpone. Trustee Delzell.
Yes.
Trustee Zelinski.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez.
Yes.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Navis Barza.
Yes.
Motion carries to postpone discussion to next committee meeting on 10/13.
Did anyone have any unfinished business? Any new business? Then can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. We'll adjourn this meeting then at 8:27. And thank you again, folks, for coming out tonight. I appreciate your support.